I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. There it is, guys. The Betafpv new version, the V3 version of the 95X, with one of my favorite decased cameras on top. It is the SMO 4K camera with a lens filter. It really removes a lot of the jello when you add this filter on there. So I'm going to show you some footage coming up, but I know all you guys will want to know comparisons and all that, and I'm going to include all of that in this video. But I will tell you that you can transform the way your video looks when you add an SMO 4K camera to your 2.5-inch quad equation. So very, very nice addition to make this a true Cinewhoop. So let's go ahead outside now. Let's fly it on 4S. And I think you guys are gonna be surprised at how well this little quad flies and the video results that it gets and brings home. So this one is more of a cinema quad. It doesn't have quite as much freestyle capability with the camera on there. If you want to freestyle it, take the camera off and it will do much better. But I have the analog version. This one's coming in at the same price as the Cinelog from Geprc, around $179, and the HD version of this goes for $279, the exact same price as the Cinelog. So yeah, let's go ahead outside now and let's do some flying with the Betafpv 95X V3 with SMO 4K. Here we go. right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. You know, isn't this quad just cool to look at? I might be biased, but whenever I see a new quad, I love it. It's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like cars. Cars, vans, trucks, I love them all. Some of them are not so pretty, but again, it's a lot of it is about aesthetic, and I feel like they created a 2.5-inch Cinewhoop that stands out from the pack. When you see this one, you know it's the Betafpv 95X V3. That's great. They created their own look here. It's not just all black and kind of blends into the crowd. They made it stand out with this red theme, and it seems like they've taken that red theme from kind of bouncing off of Insta360's red and black theme with their 1R series cameras and the new collaboration with this SMO 4K camera. Now, I gotta tell you, this Indy 16 filter on here, this makes a world of difference. When I first tested this camera for you guys, I didn't put the Indy 16 filter on there, and man, what a difference in quality it made. Today's video just looked, wow, amazing. And I have to tell you, the tune on this one in comparison to the Cinelog from Geprc, the Cinelog 25 flies way better and is way smoother as far as the camera jello way up high in the main camera. Some of the smoothest 2.5-inch video. Now at high throttle, a lot of these 2.5-inch Cinewhoops have some jello high up. Wind, environmental factors, having a slight duct on these. They really don't have a lot of duct. It's more of a prop guard really than a duct, but you will get some jello. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into the meat of this review and give you some of my honest experience as always for these reviews so that you get the real information. While I loved flying the 95X V3, there are some caveats, of course. There are more pros than cons, but we're going to talk about everything here. So we came home with fantastic video. I enjoyed flying it. It is a 4S experience. You can fly anything from a 450 milliamp battery, a 550, a 650, and all the way up to an 850. The 850 is a little bit high. You kind of have to stand it on its side. It does push the camera forward a little bit, and you need to match up your camera angles here on both your analog camera here and your SMO 4K so that you get a proper looking video recording. We have an XT30 in the back, and we have an F405 flight controller on here that is a 20 amp 4-in-1 ESC single stack in here, which is easy to get to. They have some bolts on the very bottom here. These are Phillips head screws. You'll need a tiny screwdriver, something like an eyeglass screwdriver, and then you have 4 bolts in the very back that release this center plate. So once you release this center plate, you get to the stack. And I had a problem when mine came in. My VTX only worked when my goggles were right up next to the quad. So I unknowingly for my first flight test, I flew this exact same quad off into the distance, and as soon as I flew away from my van sitting on the side of the mountain, I lost video and crashed. So that was not cool. I didn't have my SMO 4K on there at the time, thank God. So I had to go back home and request a new VTX, and they sent me a new VTX. They sent me the exact same one. It has that red antenna back here that looks exactly like this color scheme. But I had another one on the bench that was from Betafpv. It's the M02 VTX, and I went with that one instead because it's 800 milliwatt and I have crossfire on here. So I really want like the maximum range that I can get out of this quad. Now you can fly this quad out there over a mile on a TBS crossfire antenna. If you're looking for the maximum range on this quad, go ahead and put a 4S 850 battery on this quad, and man, you can send this thing out there. But this frame is different than some of the others. At first glance, it looks like it's all plastic. And that might be a turnoff for some people, but I can tell you, these are some of the thicker prop guards here than I've seen on any of these 2.5-inch series Cinewhoops. So they did their homework as far as things breaking, and it seems like this frame might be a little bit lighter than some of the other ones out there that used a carbon fiber top plate. Now, if you look underneath and you look really closely, you can see there is a thin carbon fiber strip that is mounted to the plastic that goes underneath the motor right there. So this is still kind of a carbon plastic hybrid frame, even though they kind of hid the carbon underneath there. And at first glance, I thought this whole quad was nothing but plastic as well. You know, and aesthetic wise, I like to see some carbon on a quad. It's just kind of sexy looking, and it makes it look cool. But what I thought at very first glance also was that this one's going to be hard to work on because, well, it's all one piece here, and then it has all these bolts on the bottom, and like it just seemed unfamiliar with the way they have things sandwiched in here. And that was a surprise at first, but it's actually pretty easy to just take this bottom plate off and get right to the stack. So the only downside of that, and I say easy, the downside of getting to your stack here is that you have to take all 4 props off, unless you're like bending stuff out of the way, because each blade goes over top of this center plate here. As you can see, every single section right here overlaps. So that was one bummer, but I got over it once I was inside, and I quickly replaced the VTX. And once I did that, I was off and running. The other thing about this one is that the dampening is a little small, but I tell you, the video that I brought home was like 2 thumbs up fantastic. I love the video that came home with this quad. So while this one might not have as good of a freestyle characteristic as the Geprc Cinelog, the Cinelog freestyle is better than this one. The tune is better on the Cinelog. It flies smoother in that main camera. And a lot of that has to do with a decent tune and the fact that this camera is hard mounted to the frame. So this one's physically connected to this front plate, and it kind of hangs out there in the front. It is suspended above that bottom plate there, that bottom part of the frame. Whereas the Cinelog is dampened. So they made their camera mount a part of the entire dampening for your TPU mount for your SMO 4K. Your SMO 4K rod's up here, and it has 5 dampening grommets on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and it's wider. So I think this is a smarter design and a more stable design. However, Gep kind of dropped the ball on their TPU print, where this broke in a freestyle crash on me. So I think that the TPU mount needs to be adjusted. They need to come out with a version 2 where they don't have these 2 attachment points, because a 3D print attaching at these 2 type of points, it's set up for failure. So that's one thing to think about there. But the mount that Betafpv sent me with theirs does not fit the SMO 4K camera. This is their own camera, and for some reason, no matter what I did, I could not make this get through there. I mean, I tried every which way but loose to get this camera to go through this TPU mount. So what I ended up having to do is snip it and then run a zip tie around the whole thing. So very strange that this did not fit. And that was kind of a bummer. And I was afraid that when I crashed, I might lose this camera in this configuration. This is just a total temporary setup so that I could get some video for you guys. But yeah, so there's inconsistencies with a lot of the different camera mounts out there for some of these quads. I think one of the best mounts is probably the one on the Cinestar, where they already sent me the carbon fiber setup here. It's got a plug in the very back, and it has a suspended mount there, so it is dampened. But again, their camera on the front, on the main part, is hard mounted to the frame, so you see a little more jello in your flight experience versus the Cinelog. So far the Cinelog has the best onboard camera flight experience, the best tune, and the best dampening system outside that one piece breaking off. So yeah, they need to reconfigure that. But also in comparison, I know you guys want to see some comparisons between these two. This is a 109mm wheel-to-wheel wheelbase here on the Gep, so it's just a little bit larger. It's got that carbon top plate. You have this little connector right here that's ready to go for your action camera up here, which is really nice. A lot of these quads are now doing that out of the gate. This one is 95 millimeter from wheelbase to wheelbase, or motor to motor. And again, no carbon showing on this one, except for a little tiny strip in the very bottom. Now, there are a lot of major differences between these two power systems. We have 1106 motors on the 95X V3, and we have 12 series motors on this one. So my own personal opinion is that 1106 is maybe good for micro brushless series quads that I wouldn't really use for cinema. It would be more of a freestyle motor, in my opinion. The 12 series motors seem to be a little bit larger. They are larger, and they have a little more forgiveness for your battery. They're not quite as hard on the battery. So 1106 is spinning some high RPMs here. The KV is quite high, and this just allows a little quieter experience too. The 1106 is louder, so this quad is way louder than the Cinelog. So if you're looking for something that's quieter, even though these two use the same props, best way I can explain that, this one is just a quieter and smoother motor, and again, easier on your battery. All right, guys, so it's kind of just barely on the scale there, but with the camera and everything, it's up to 141.4 grams. So with the 4S 650, 216.6 grams. Again, kind of hard to see, but that's with the 650. And now with the 850 series battery, that's going to get you a little closer. And this is with the camera too, so this is a great weight, 239.5 grams. So again, like just over 100 grams for the 95X, and we're right at 131 there for the Cinelog, and now with the 4S 650 at 206, and with the 4S 850 you're looking at 229. So it's going to be pretty close for getting the camera, another SMO camera on this one, the Cinelog, without being over 250 grams with the 850. So I think it's doable with the Betafpv quad if you want to try to keep it under 250 grams. So at the end of the day, guys, I guess really what this boils down to is, should you get this one? Should you get the Cinelog 25? Should you get the HOM wingsuit or the wingsuit S? Everybody wants to know which one. Take all this information that I laid out to you here and put it in your own basket, and make that decision yourself. I have a hard time going back and forth between one quad to the next, wingsuit versus the Cinelog. You know, I've stated my opinion before, and my opinion comes from experience and flying in mountainous regions, flying in semi-rainy environment of Oregon, snow, great beautiful summer days, and on and on. So windy or non-windy conditions. And what a lot of this boils down to is reliability. Reliability factor on the Gep stuff, it's pretty high. I haven't had really a lot of their components fail me. And Betafpv has come a long way with their stuff. So I got to give it to their team. They work really, really hard. And, you know, I'm not trying to kiss their butts or anything, but they really do pay attention to the community, and they do try hard. And Geprc is just one of those companies that just like keeps, they impress me, and it's hard to be impressed when you've flown them all. So yeah, I think they've done some things here on the 95X that Gep didn't do. This one is a lighter frame. It does have thicker prop guards here that are not likely to break on you. The outside edge part looks a little bit thinner than the one on this frame. Looks a little thicker as far as this outside piece goes, and it has that bottom bevel in there, which I think helps with some of the sound distribution, making it a little quieter. But again, you got the 12 series motors, which are a lot quieter than 1106. So a little bit thicker bumper there on that one as well. But with all the reliability of Gep, their camera mount failed. So so there's going to be things on both of these types of drones that fail, guys. That's just the way it is with this stuff. Anything that moves, it could be an airplane, RC car, whatever. Sometimes you just get some defect from the factory that just totally fails and causes a complete catastrophe. And you know, that's the way it goes with this stuff. It's not like you bought a cell phone from Best Buy and you expect it to work exactly how you bought it from Best Buy, or you're gonna use your warranty. This is the hobby. So the hobby requires some maintenance from time to time, and you can get parts for all of these, but at the end of the day, you should be able to fix your stuff. And you can't always rely on sending an email back to China and being like, hey, I want to return this because I crashed it and then a part broke, or whatever. And don't get me started on that, but I think the Cinelog is a great choice. And I've said it before, you guys have asked me a million times in the comments on the most recent 2.5 inch Cinewhoop videos. I like the Cinelog. However, I don't think, as long as you get all your components working from Betafpv, that the 95X will steer you wrong for cinema. It's not a freestyler. It did have tumble and it had some issues with freestyle. So, but take the camera off and it'll do a little better. This camera, the additional weight with a heavier battery, will make it have more tumble. So if you want to freestyle it, put a 4S 450 on there, but you're only going to get about 3.5 minutes flight time with a 450. Put an 850 on there and you're going to get, yeah, over 7 minutes, a little over 7 minutes. But again, these are probably drawing more amps. And I should do a visual comparison, a little test, and see between this 12 series motors and the 1106s, but I guarantee it that these are drawing way more amps than the 12 series. So yeah, guys, that's my opinion as always, and super honest with you here on the channel. If you're gonna ask me again, wingsuit or Cinelog 25, Cinelog 25, guys, and go HD. If you have the money for DJI, it will blow you away versus analog. This camera, this Nebula Pro, it's where it's at. It's freaking awesome. So I love it. A friend of mine is just now getting DJI goggles after about a year of me flying them, and it's going to change his world. So I look forward to my buddy Diego getting his DJI goggles. He's just going to freaking love them. So anyway, guys, take care, and hopefully you guys are dodging raindrops and getting to do some flying. Let me know in the comments down below which one of these 2.5 inch Cinewhoops is your favorite. And if you're considering the 95X or the Cinelog, let me know which one you're going to go for. I'll put my top 5 Cinelogs down in the links below, and you guys can check out 1 through 5 which ones are my favorite and in what order. So nobody really has to make a bunch of comments. Which one's your favorite? It's right down below, guys, so check it out. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, guys. Please subscribe on the channel because I will bring you super, super honest reviews and flight tests. More flight tests coming up. I got some awesome stuff coming. I got a brand new twin engine plane from Adam RC that we're going to bring to you very shortly. Take care. I'll see you on the next one.